Hi guys, and welcome to this week's tutorial. I'm Clinton Lofthouse, and this week's tutorial we are going to be walking through Luminar 4.2 sky replacement feature. So I know we did a tutorial not long ago on Luminar 4.2, the AI Augmented sky feature, where we took composite elements and Luminar would then mask them themselves and fit them into the background. Well, the sky replacement feature, what we're going to talk about today, is a little bit similar, but we're not adding composite elements into the sky. Instead, we are actually replacing the sky, and it works a little like the augmented sky feature. It masks it itself. It uses AI to place the image, and then you can refine if you need to. So I'm going to start off with this image here, and I'm going to go into, again, as I said in the last tutorial, I work in Luminar mostly from inside Photoshop, but you can use it as a standalone. But the way I use it is from inside, and I will show you how to do that now. So we go up to Filter, go down to Skylum, and click on Luminar 4, and that will open the Luminar interface in Photoshop. So feel free, if you don't use Photoshop, you can always just use Luminar as a standalone and do exactly the same as I'm doing now in Luminar on its own. So we've opened up the image in Luminar, and what we want to do is, again, as we did in the last tutorial, go down to the creative features, click on creative, and you will see you have sky replacement and augmented sky. We want this week to use sky replacement, and as you can see, it will open a dialog box, and you will have these sky selection options here, and then some refining a little bit underneath, and then advanced settings below that. So what we want to do is we want to add a sky into the background. So to do that, you click on the sky selection, and you've got all these options here. So you've got a lot of options, but if you need to as well, you can also add in your own images. So for this image here, we are going to go through and use one of the images that Luminar supplies with the image. So let's go and have a look. Let's try Sunset Clouds 1. So we click on it, and then Luminar adds that into our image. So as you can see here, it's done a nice job of adding the image in. It's added the clouds in, it's masked away, but it's not looking perfect. So what we need to do then is we can go in and refine the image. So to me, the image needs a little bit of a blurring. So in the advanced settings, you can go down to sky defocus, and this is a little bit similar to what we did in the augmented AI sky tutorial. So we want to defocus the sky. So let's pull this along to somewhere around about 18%. As you can see now, it's blurring the sky that it's added in, and it's moved it to around, so it's blended it around the model in the foreground, and it's started to match better. So what we want to do now is let's come and change the color temperature, because the original image had lots of browns and a reddish tone to it, and this image is kind of feels like it's missing that, and it kind of still, the color tone isn't working as well. So let's go down to the sky temperature, and let's start moving the slider to the right to around about 75. Let's keep going. Actually 100% works for me. So as you can see, it now is starting to fit into the image better. So if we go up, and let's actually let's play with the exposure a little bit. So what sky exposure does, obviously, is it brightens or darkens the exposure of the sky. So let's put it down a little bit. Somewhere around -23, and what we want to do is let's see what if we add any atmospheric haze, if that makes the image look a little bit more realistic. As we have the mountains here, and you can see there's a lot of atmospheric haze in the image already, and we haven't got that on the sky that has been placed into the image. So if we bring this slider up to the right a little bit, somewhere around here, so somewhere around 64 actually works very well. So what that done is basically it's lessened the contrast of the image, the sky image that was placed in there, and it now matches a lot better with the mountains that were already in the image. And as you can see, it looks like the clouds are floating over the mountains. So the only thing what I am going to try now is I'm going to go up to the top here to the horizon blending, and this may or may not work, but sometimes it helps blend in the image a little bit better. So it's not really doing that much actually. Let's pull it down. So if you look here and here, it's just blending the horizon from different levels. So to the top. I actually prefer it with the blending lower. So let's keep it on around about 40%. No, let's go down to 30%. So let's just take a look at the effect. So this is the image before, and this is the image after, and it blends the sky seamlessly in to the scene and masks it for you. And it does a very good job of that as well, but obviously you need to use the right kind of sky image for the right image you've got. So let's just turn that off. So that was the before and after slider, which just is up on the top bar here to click, which makes it easy to see the effect. So let's actually reset that, and let me explain about using the correct sky replacement for the image. So let's say, obviously this is a daylight image. It's set in the day. The light's coming from the right hand side. But let's say then if we chose a starry night number 1, obviously that image does not work with our image. The average image daytime, that sky replacement sky is for a nighttime image. So always be mindful. So another way of looking at it would be, because the light is coming from the right on the model and in this image here, you don't want a sky where the sun is over this side, because obviously that wouldn't make sense. So you just need to you just need to be aware of these elements as you add in this feature to make it realistic, because if you don't follow the guidelines of how things work in reality, then the image just will not look correct. So let's undo that and let's cancel on this image here. So again, I'm going to go now into another image of mine, and we're going to play around with adding a sky to this image here. So let's go to Filter, Skyline Software, and Luminar 4. Again, I'm going to show you a wrong example on this, and then we can go in and I'll show you how I would add an image to a moody image like this. So again, we're now in the Luminar interface. We go across the creative features, go up to sky replacement. Let's drop down the advanced settings here and go to sky selection. So again, let's start off with the wrong type of image for this photo. So this image is very monotone, it's moody, it's very blue. So again, you wouldn't want to be putting anything very bright and happy in the image. So let's go with bright blue sky too. If you look at the image now, it just doesn't make sense. I mean, it kind of fits in a little bit. I mean, it's not overly drastic. So let's try something. Let's try and find what's even worse. So let's go with a sunset. As you can see now, this definitely does not work with this image here. So always be mindful of what image you're using. So the image I am going to use is, let's try, this is quite a dramatic image. It's set in a graveyard, it's got a dramatic feel. Let's try and add a dramatic sky to the image. So let's go with dramatic sky. Let's try dramatic sky too. See, that doesn't work for sure. So let's go with, let's try number 1. Oh, that's looking a lot better. That's looking more realistic than the other one. The tones are matching quite well. Let's just go see what dramatic sky 3 is like. So again, you can just keep going through these options to see which ones work. So that one's not looking too bad either. So let's try one more. Dramatic sky 4. So that's, I'm trying to think now which one I preferred. So let's go back. I think let's now maybe 1. I quite like that one. Let's try number 1 again. Oh, wrong one. Dramatic sky 1. So either this one or 3. I think I'm going to go with 3. It seems to sit into the image better. So this one works best for me, I think. So now we've got the image in. Again, we can adjust with these settings here. So what I'm going to do, I've noticed a few little gaps here. So in the masking. So what you can do is, there's a slider here called close gaps. So if we slide that to the, is it to the right? Let's have a look. So that's too far. So this is basically playing with the masking. So somewhere there looks better. That works for me. And let's go down and let's play with the sky temperature just to see if we can get matching the blues a little bit better. So as you can see, it was looking a little bit too warm. So sky temperature -58. And then I'm going to bring the exposure down a little bit as well. It looks a little bit too bright for me. So -54. And let's just play with the horizon blending as well. So that's 0. So let's just get that bottom cloud a little bit out. So that's 31. And that's not looking too bad actually. We've got some nice dark clouds in the foreground, and then we have the lighter patches over here coming down, and the light rays coming onto the gravestones, which kind of gives it a very melodramatic feel. So you see, again, very easy just to add the sky in and get something that works with the image you're working with, but you have to be very mindful of the skies you are working with. Obviously there's some snowfall here, so I would suggest adding some more snowfall in Photoshop afterwards just to match the snowfall falling. But again, decent sky added to an image. It's masked through the trees and around the gravestones and the horizon. The AI does a very decent job of masking, which saves you a lot of time. So let's reset that, and let's now go back, cancel that and go back into Photoshop. So the last image I'm going to show you is an image I've been playing around with for a composite, and I wanted to create a background with this image here, but it wasn't dramatic enough. So what I'm going to do is show you how I made it more dramatic looking in Luminar. So again, we got to filter. Let's go down to Skyrim software, Luminar 4. And let the interface load up. So with, one of the features of the sky replacement is that you can add your own images into the bank of the images that I used in the sky replacement library. So for this one, because I have the we want to replace the sky, but then obviously because we have some water in front of us, we need to make sure that the sky is reflected in the water below. So if we go to creative, let me just show you what happens if we use one of the images in the library from Luminar. Let's just put in dramatic sky 3. As you can see, it does a great job of masking around the trees and the mountain and getting a decent sky in there, and it looks pretty good, to be fair. But for what I'm wanting, we need the reflection in the water here. It's just not going to be realistic. And the image I was trying to create was, I wanted a little bit more of a moody fantasy feel to it. So what I did is I added my own image to the library bank. So let's go down to this one here. So as you can see, this image, it was more along the lines for the composite that I was trying to create. It was very surreal and fantasy-like. So as you can see, Luminar's done a good job of masking around the trees and putting the replacement into place. But what we want to do is get some reflections into this water here. So there is no settings in this dialog box that lets you do that. So the way around it is you have to use the layers section in Luminar. So what we need to do is go up to the layers section here, click on layers. We need to click on the symbol here, the plus symbol, and we want to create a new image layer. So what that does is, let's go to Yellowstone from our library and click open. So what that does now is it brings in the image and places it on top of our working image. So as you can see, it's brought the image in, but it's not looking great, and it's obviously the wrong way around. We need to make sure the reflection in the water is the opposite way around to the actual sky. So the way to do that is if you go to the dialog box here, you have the layer transform option. So you want to click on layer transform, and it brings us into the workstation of layer transform, and you want to go up to this icon here, which is the option to flip the image like so. And then what we want to do is we need to move the image down towards where the water is. So if you see the little hand icon here, if you click on your mouse or whichever tool you're using, your tablet, the hand will close, and you can then just drag down by holding somewhere where the image is supposed to be in the water. So let's have a look. So we want, let's try somewhere around. So let's just as well, because when it's brought in for some reason it's squashed it a little bit. So let's just, if we hold on to the side here, these little arrows up here, click, and let's just pull that along a little bit like so. Let's now somewhere around here, press enter. Oh, I've flipped it for some reason by accident then. So we've just flipped it back around and pressed done. And now that will take us back into the image here. So as you can see, we've got the image over the top, but it's just the image of the top, and it's not blending in with the water at all. So the way to do this is to actually go back to the dialog box and then play with blend modes. So you see the blend option here. If you click where it says normal, you'll then get the option to use blend modes on the image we added in. And by now, if you've used Photoshop at all, you know that blend modes are great for blending images into other images. So usually screen is what I use a lot, and multiply, but for this one I think we'll go with something like probably overlay or soft light works well for these kind of images. So that's overlay, so that's soft light, that's overlay. So overlay is looking good to me. So let's click overlay. But what we have now is the image is blended into the water, but where the trees are, we've got this black line here. So again, we need to refine this and mask it for it to work, for it to look like realistic in the image. So what we need to do is go to edit mask and click on this here where it says brush. So now we have a brush. We want to go up to the top in the brush options and press erase. So what we can do now is, again, like Photoshop, if you open and close brackets, resize your brush. So let's just resize it to something like that. And then what we want to do is just start painting away the effect from the trees, like so. So again, a lot like Photoshop, which is good because it makes things a lot easier for us to do and to learn. We're just going to paint away where the image was. We're just masking it out right now. Again, you can be gentle as you want. You can also lower your opacity as well. Softness, I would leave it 100%. So something along those lines there. And then we can go back to our creative panel. And then, as you can see, we now have the sky replacement here, and we also have the reflection, which gives it realism here. So basically, that's an overall look at how the sky replacement works. As with the augmented AI sky from the last tutorial, I think these tools work best for beginners, for people who maybe, again, are a little bit overwhelmed by Photoshop. Luminar is the best program for ease of being able to just come in and use it for these simple dialog boxes and sliders, what take all the work out of the photo manipulation elements. And the AI does amazing work adding in skies in the elements, which makes, again, leaves out all the advanced masking, which in Photoshop can take a very long time if you're not used to it. So thanks for watching this tutorial. I hope it's helped. If you have any questions, feel free to get in touch with me on social media or leave a message in the comments below and I'll get back to you. So thanks a lot, guys. Peace.